there, YouTube fam! Ever find yourself wondering why people sometimes fall in love with their kidnappers? No? Just me? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into the wild world of Stockholm Syndrome. It's a psychological phenomenon where hostages develop a bond with their captors, sometimes even defending them. We'll explore some real-life stories, the science behind it, and even take a humorous look at the quirks of the human brain. So let's get started. To kick things off, let's go back to where it all began. The term Stockholm Syndrome was coined after a bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden in 1973. Imagine this. A group of robbers takes employees hostage in a bank. You'd expect fear, maybe anger, but love and loyalty? That's exactly what happened. 4 employees were held captive in a bank vault for 6 days. By the end of their ordeal, not only did they defend their captors, but some even refused to testify against them in court. One hostage, Kristen Enmark, later even visited her captor in prison. Talk about unexpected friendships. Now, you might be thinking, what on earth makes people do this? Well, it turns out our brains are pretty weird. Let's break it down with some science. First, let's talk about the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. When you're in a stressful situation like being kidnapped, the amygdala goes into overdrive, pumping out fear and anxiety. But here's where things get interesting. If the captors show any kindness, even something as small as giving you food, the brain's reward system kicks in. The hypothalamus, which regulates emotions, starts associating that little bit of kindness with relief and safety. It's like the brain goes, hey, maybe this person isn't so bad after all. It's a classic case of mixed signals. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, which handles decision-making, is trying to make sense of these conflicting emotions. The brain ends up creating a bond with the captor as a coping mechanism. It's survival mode, but with a bizarre twist. Stockholm Syndrome isn't just a one-off thing. There are numerous cases throughout history. Take, for example, Patty Hearst. In 1974, she was kidnapped by the Symbionese Liberation Army. Not only did she develop sympathy for her captors, but she also ended up participating in a bank robbery with them. It sounds like the plot of a bizarre movie, right? But it's real life. Hearst later testified that she was brainwashed and coerced, which makes sense when you consider how our brains can warp our sense of reality under extreme stress. And it's not just the famous cases. This phenomenon has been observed in various forms, from cult members to abusive relationships. The underlying mechanism remains the same. Our brains are trying to cope with fear by forming attachments. So it's like our brains are trying to say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Let's recap. Stockholm Syndrome is basically our brain's way of trying to survive. The mix of fear, gratitude for small mercies, and the need to find safety creates a strange bond between captor and captive. It's not love in the traditional sense, but a complex psychological survival strategy. Our brains are doing some serious mental gymnastics here, folks. It's like the ultimate plot twist. Fear turns into loyalty. And it's not something people can just snap out of. The effects can linger long after the traumatic event is over. All right, now that we've covered the science, let's talk about some of the wild misconceptions out there. No, people don't fall in love with their captors because they secretly wanted to be kidnapped. And no, it's not just a case of bad judgment. It's a deeply ingrained, involuntary psychological response. Remember, folks, if you ever find yourself sympathizing with someone holding you hostage, it's not because they're charming. It's because your brain is in survival mode. The brain is a tricky, tricky place. But let's not forget the human element. Every case of Stockholm Syndrome involves real people with real emotions and real stories. It's a testament to the incredible, sometimes baffling ways our brains try to protect us. So next time you hear about someone developing a bond with their captor, remember the science behind it. It's not about rational choice, but a complex interplay of fear, survival, and the human brain's remarkable adaptability. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the weird and wonderful world of Stockholm Syndrome. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the quirks of the human mind. And hey, keep your brains happy and healthy, all right? See you next time.